The open-world gacha game market is really heating up lately. With Genshin's success to be the biggest gacha game in terms of revenue, I think it's no surprise that all gacha game companies are trying to make their own Genshin. Some of them fall flat, while others show some promise. But I think we can all agree that out of all of them, one stands out above the rest. Project Mugen was announced in August last year and has been gaining 5 million pre-registrations, even though we still have no hard confirmation on all platforms it will support or the possible release date. But it's quite easy to understand why everyone is excited. This! Holy crap, that's one heck of an open world environment. Look at that movement mechanic! You can drive, swim, swing, and jump around. You can destroy objects to make enemies fall down and throw nearby objects on enemies. You can pet cats, play arcades, and most importantly, the world is filled with life. And then there is that jet set radio aesthetic mixed with the great combat visual effects and animation, and this is a masterclass example on how to do a reveal trailer. If this is how the final game is going to be, Project Mugen might be the first gacha game to do open world right, by packing every square inch of the game with interactable objects and giving a lot of freedom of movement. That being said, just like any other announcement trailer, I'm still cautiously optimistic. First of all, the trailer itself doesn't reveal a lot about how the game works beyond the general vibe and a lot of animated cutscenes. Even with reading the interview articles, the combat remains very vague. This description seems to suggest a Genshin-like combat system and synergy between 4 party members. Then again, the enemy combat system is only as good as the enemy design and the challenge presented to the player. Will it be the casual DPS numbers game with emphasis on gear grinding, where numbers just need to go up and up? Or will it focus more on player skill with hardcore mechanics like dodging and timing your abilities? We don't know. From the storytelling standpoint, I think it's a bit too early to fully analyze everything. But I do have some concerns about the storytelling direction implied in this trailer. They seem to frame Dilla here to be the main villain for this part of the story, especially with the giant figure that has the same hair attributes as her. But I really hope that they didn't go with the combination of face heel turn, force into evil, and good all along trope cocktail, because it has never been done well. The solution for whatever conflict in this type of stories is either a forced world building explanation or just talk. Like seriously, for some reason, the characters using these tropes just don't want to talk until their true intention is revealed at the climax. So let's just hope that the story writers know what they're doing. I also hope that they will have the balls to actually destroy a part of the city permanently to reflect what happened in the story. For example, if this giant Dilla smashed a skyscraper, then I hope that skyscraper remains destroyed for the entire lifetime of the game. I think it'll be cool to have whatever happened in the story permanently reflected in the game world itself. It will also make that building a good catalyst for further storytelling and a very good landmark. For example, if a reformed Dilla always watched that building every night with regret, or if a character in the story always looked at that building with seething rage. But more importantly, it will set Project Mugen apart from other open-world gacha games, because the main philosophy in this type of live service games is to reuse assets whenever possible. To the developers, a destroyed map is a loss of time and value. I think the best example of this is this scene from Genshin by having a part of the playable map destroyed to deal with the conflict in the story. Of course they're going to bring the Jade Chamber back, because the developers have spent so much time making that thing and they will reuse it to death. Another concern is that storytelling potential in an urban open-world environment will also be quite limited. In general, you don't associate adventure stories with an urban metropolis because there is very little unknown to explore in a city. Wherever you go, somebody must have been there yesterday. Plus, you can use many of the adventure tropes in the middle of the city, like abandoned ruins or dangerous traps. I guess they could try to make some hidden underground structure if they want to have that sense of exploration, Though I think there is a certain limit on how many secret underground structures you can realistically hide in a city. I mean, if these guys get caught trying to dig a tunnel, then I think it's pretty hard to believe that you can have an entire underground base in the middle of the city under skyscrapers. Not to mention that you can have a lot of environmental variety in an urban setting, at least not as drastic as the classic fantasy games. You can just have a desert district next to a frozen corner, or spend time in a jungle in the middle of the city. In other words, urban settings might be a good idea for a 60-hour single-player game like Grand Theft Auto or Spider-Man, but it might get stale rather quickly in a live service game. After all, we're talking about a 10,000-hour game here. Again, I would like to be proven wrong here, but this is why I prefer fantasy settings in my games. There are just a lot more options for game environment variety. But above all else, my biggest concern is if the developers are overpromising in this trailer. From a technical standpoint, having seamless, fully featured indoor areas and a lot of interactable physics objects for an open-world game would require a very demanding hardware. That could be a massive accessibility issue for a lot of potential players, especially if they are targeting mid-range Android devices to get as many players as possible to at least break even. I think the safest assumption is that they might need to downgrade the graphics and environmental interactability on low-end devices later in development. But then again, that might be seen as overpromising and under-delivering. And the last concern is that it is developed by NetEase. A lot of people will tell you to avoid games made by this company for 3 reasons. Number 1, NetEase is known to create copycat low-effort games, and this has got them into trouble. In 2019, PUBG sued them for making not 1, but 3 copycat games. In 2022, Hyperfront got sued and shut down by Riot Games for plagiarizing Valorant. You can also argue that some of their current games is a copycat of other games. This fact alone is not exactly relevant to Project Mugen, and to be fair, some of their games are pretty well received, like Naraka Breakpoint and Onmyoji Arena. But it does give a lot of players a negative perception that this company will do anything to get a profit, including plagiarizing other games. And speaking of profit, let's not forget that NetEase worked with Blizzard to create Diablo Immortal, which is one of the most predatory and greediest gacha games ever. And according to a lot of players, that greed seems to be prevalent in a lot of their games where you have to pay up to remain competitive. Again, to be fair, most of their games are multiplayer, while Project Mugen is said to be mostly single-player or multiplayer co-op. So I doubt they'll be able to make Project Mugen pay to win. But then again, that does make you kinda wonder how hard they will push the monetization on Project Mugen once it's out. But the most concerning part of all is that they have a very good track record of abandoning games shortly after release, leaving it with no updates, no bug fixes, and filled with hackers. At best, it can be seen as them throwing random games on the wall and seeing which one sticks. At worst, it looks very disrespectful to the developers who spend their time making the game and to the players who already spend so much money in microtransactions. If you are one of those players who were abandoned by NetEase, please do share your own experience in the comment section down below. Everything I said in this video is based on research and not from my own first-hand experience playing these games, so your past experience will help inform some players who haven't played any of NetEase games. All of these points combined should make any potential players to be quite hesitant to put in money into any future games made by NetEase, including Project Mugen. Who knows if NetEase suddenly decide that Mugen was not hitting its targeted income and decided to abandon it, just like any other games they did in the past. But then again, perhaps this is the game that will help clean up NetEase's reputation, just like how Nexon is regaining player trust with Blue Archive. Maybe for Mugen, they can't afford to be as greedy because the competition is giving so much free gacha these days with better value, and they will be hesitant to ruin their golden goose. As far as I know, NetEase hasn't made any open-world single-player gacha games just yet, so their actions in Mugen could be quite different. Ultimately, I would still try Project Mugen, but if I were you, I would hold off putting significant money on any of their microtransactions at least until the second year. Until then, I guess we just have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think about this video. Are you hopeful for Project Mugen? Have you been disappointed by NetEase before? Let's talk about it in the comment section down below. As always, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. And with that, I think I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.